Good afternoon. You have entered session 7, the Florida Safety Story, moderated by Jeff Sanderson. If you have any questions or comments, please use the question box found within the GoToWebinar app. Thank you. Jeff?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining for our panel. Talking today about the Florida Safety Story and concentrating on partnerships. Today on our panel, we have Mike Cobb, Landstar Transportation Logistics Vice President of Safety and Compliance, Dr. Ken Armstrong, President and CEO of the Florida Trucking Association, Chief Jeff Dixon of the Florida Highway Patrol Office of Commercial Vehicle Enforcement, and I'm Jeff Sanderson, the Division Administrator in the Florida Division of FMCSA. We'll start off today with a few comments. Mike, will you lead us off?
Sure, Jeff. We're talking about relationship with law enforcement, and as you know, Landstar has always had a great relationship with law enforcement over the years, mainly because we've gotten them involved with and included in our safety culture. And really, we got them involved with the Safety Thursday conference call, which has become the backbone of our safety culture here at Landstar. The call occurs the third Thursday of every month. We've been doing it for 30 years. Each month we have a different safety topic. It's a listen-only call with an average of about 1,300 listeners each month, which mainly are Landstar owner-operators, which we call business capacity owners here, employees, agents, as well as customers. Customers listen to the call as well. Each month we have a different department here at Landstar who's the sponsor of the call, and they're responsible to get the speaker to discuss that specific safety topic for the month. So the call is noon Eastern time, and every month it's started by Landstar's CEO, Jim Gattoni. He makes his comments. Then what we do is provide any regulatory comments or updates that have occurred since the last call, and then we introduce the speaker, and the speaker discusses the topic. Then once the speaker's done speaking, we open up the phone lines for the question and answer session, and what happens is the caller presses star one to ask a question, and I can tell you, anytime that we have law enforcement on the call, there's always positive, respectful interaction and questions for law enforcement. It's always just good stuff. But in the past 10 years, we've had guest speakers, obviously from FMCSA, speakers both from Florida and other areas. Actually, in June, our department sponsor was the Mexican Operations Department in Laredo, Texas. And the speakers that they obtained were Safety Inspector Roman Martinez and Safety Inspector Everardo Seguida from FMCSA down there in Laredo. They really did a great job. But in the past from FMCSA, we've actually had previous Administrator John Hill speak on the call. Rose McMurray, when she was Chief Safety Officer and then Acting Administrator, she spoke on the call. And then actually we had Rose speak at a Landstar convention one year as well. But besides FMCSA, obviously, Florida Highway Patrol has been very active on our call over the years. A couple months back, we actually had Sergeant Rudy Waters speak about intersection safety. And as a matter of fact, this month, in conjunction with CBSA's Brake Safety Week, our topic is brakes, lights, and tires, and we'll again have an FHP trooper speak on properly maintaining those components. So good stuff. But over the years, we've had other agencies and associations speak as well. We've had speakers from NHTSA, the National Safety Council, ATRI, also other state law enforcement agencies, Colorado State Patrol, California Highway Patrol, Michigan. We love our FHP troopers, but the thing is, when the topic is safe mountain driving or navigating winter weather conditions, they're probably not going to be providing some as good in-depth advice as those guys from Colorado and Michigan. So. But recently, we've also had Tennessee Highway Patrol, Pennsylvania State Police, Illinois State Police. We operate in Canada, so we've had the Ontario Provincial Police on, the Ministry of Transportation of Ontario, and then obviously local law enforcement agencies such as Jacksonville Sheriff's Office and the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department. But with the safety call, by partnering with law enforcement, what they're doing is they're not only helping us provide information about the safety topic that we have for the month, but they're also getting their safety message out to our constituents. So it's a good partnership. It's really win-win because they get their information out there as well as the information that we're asking them to share. So the call has really been an excellent partnership with law enforcement, but we also do a lot of other things. Having to do with CBS Brake Safety Week. Obviously that's coming up. We won't be doing anything in conjunction with FHP this year, but in past years, what we've done at our St. Augustine Center, FHP has conducted 2-day events where what they did is the first day they conducted classroom brake activities, demonstrated level 1 detailing brake systems on a tractor and trailer. And then actually the second day was pretty cool. They brought in their performance-based brake tester, or PBBT as they call it, and they had Landstar operators pull their trucks onto the tester and then explained how it worked. It was really a pretty cool couple days. Additionally, we've got numerous events that we have throughout the U.S. and Canada, numerous appreciation and safety events. Every year, except for this year, unfortunately, we've had an appreciation event where we've had 700 to 800 drivers in attendance, and both FMCSA and FHP have attended and participated in those events. This is kind of funny. The last event we had last year, we had a breakout session called "Are You Smarter Than a Roadside Officer?" Where what we did is we had a classroom setting where the Landstar Inspection Services Coordinator, what she did is put up some slides of different components of a truck and trailer that had defects, and then the drivers would have to identify the defects, and then the FHP trooper, after the defects were identified, would just go ahead and elaborate on what that defect was, if it was an out-of-service defect, if there was a citation, how much would that fine be, how many CSA points was it, and then just answer general questions. And then after the breakout session, they went and conducted level 1 and 2 roadside inspection demonstrations as well. So that's always a great event, and we appreciate their participation every year. But also outside of Florida, we do conduct a number of safety events, and we have different locations where we do have law enforcement in attendance and presenting. And I'll just mention 3 because we've been doing them for the longest. Romulus, Michigan, we've been doing that safety meeting for 26 years, and the Michigan State Police Commercial Vehicle Enforcement Division, they're the people who help us out there, and they give a presentation. And a guy by the name of Sergeant Steve Blankenship has been doing it since 1996. 1994. He and I actually were there at the same time, so he and I are about the same age. A super young guy, still a lot of vim and vigor going on, but he always does a great job, and drivers love him. And then the other meeting that we've done for 21 years now is in Stoneboro, Pennsylvania, and we get help from the Pennsylvania State Police Commercial Vehicle Safety Division, and a guy by the name of Trooper Mike Gennaro has been helping. He just recently retired, but again, the drivers love him. And you know, I have to tell you, any meetings that we have with law enforcement, when they're done presenting, we always have to take a break, because if we don't take a break, drivers just get up and go over and talk to them and start asking questions while somebody else is presenting. So we always take a break once law enforcement's done presenting, and then they get swarmed by drivers wanting to ask those what if questions, or you know, hey, I got pulled over 2 weeks ago in Arkansas, and the roadside officer told me this. Is that true? You know, those types of questions. And it's always good interaction, good stuff that we certainly appreciate, and I hope that law enforcement does as well. And then the last thing I really want to say is, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention it, is in conjunction with what we do with the Florida Trucking Association and what they do with law enforcement, I can say that every event that the Florida Trucking Association has is including FMCSA and the Florida Highway Patrol. But obviously the banner event that the Florida Trucking Association has every year is the Florida Truck Driving Championship. And every year FHP conducts their inspector challenge the day before the FTA Truck Driving Championship. And FTA members assist by providing equipment for the challenge, as well as member drivers. We'll have a couple of member drivers portray actual drivers during the inspection process. So it's a good partnership. Then during the actual truck driving championship, FHP troopers work as judges alongside FTA members on the course and during the pre-trip inspection competition as well. So really, really great collaboration. Then a couple other things that we do in conjunction with them is annually we do courtesy vehicle inspections, where FTA members conduct courtesy vehicle inspections alongside road enforcement officers. What we'll do is break up into groups of 3 or 4, and they just bring the trucks through and we do a walk around inspection. If we identify anything, we'll bring an officer in and he'll decide whether anything more needs to be done or what exactly needs to be done with that defect, if it is a defect that was identified. Really great interaction. And then the last thing is Driver Appreciation Week. Usually during Driver Appreciation Week, FTA members set up tents at different way stations, and hand out hot dogs, water, and soft drinks to drivers that are pulling in through the weigh stations. And believe it or not, we actually had a driver appreciation event this year back in May in order to support those drivers during this pandemic. And obviously this year required that we change things up a little bit because we really weren't comfortable with cooking hot dogs, putting them in a bun and handing them to drivers. So we partnered with the professionals. We partnered with Chick-fil-A and Publix, and they provided bagged lunches for nearly 500 truck drivers this year. And it really worked out well. And again, FHP was right alongside with us as we were doing that. So just to kind of close out, Jeff, like I started out saying earlier, partnering with law enforcement agencies, both here and in Florida and throughout North America, really helps all of us get our safety message out. Not just Landstar, but the law enforcement agencies as well. Helps get that safety message out, and it's really become an integral part of our safety culture here at Landstar. So I've probably talked too long. I apologize for that, but I'll turn it back over to you, Jeff.
No, sir, not at all. I appreciate all your comments. Ken, you want to give us the
Sure.
FTA perspective?
I should begin by saying we asked Jim Mullen if he minded if we changed the name of our session to "Are You Smarter Than Mike Cobb?" But he thought
There's too many people that would apply to.
I think the secret maybe in Florida is sort of a habit we've gotten into. We have terrific safety personnel at our companies like Mike. Obviously, we have great partners in FMCSA like Jeff and Mickey and Diana and so forth, and everybody at FHP, particularly in CVE, just works with us hand in glove. But I know that those same dynamics exist in lots of the other states. We just seem to have gotten in the habit of, instead of pointing fingers of blame, we sort of point fingers of, well, we work with them on that. When I get calls or Alex Miller in our office gets a call, it's very likely we're going to say, oh, no, we need to talk to Chief Dixon about that. Or let us pick up the phone or text Jeff Sanderson or Diana Morales or whatever. And there's just this sort of constant feedback, not just on client or customer or member problems and issues, but on how can we make that happen. I get a kick out of the fact that we're obviously heavy hurricane state. And there's almost a race, I think, between Jeff Sanderson and Jeff Dixon on who can send out to FTA the quickest, the most recent waiver, the most recent exemption or whatever, so they can pass it along to their members. It's this habit, and I know that we frequently use the word culture, which would certainly apply as well. But there's this habit of wanting to trade information, to kick ideas around. I frequently get calls from people like the three folks on the panel, and certainly our members saying, well, how do we manage this, or how can we fix that? It was really out of one of those conversations with a predecessor of Chief Dixon, who many people would know, Chief Troy Thompson, where we hatched the idea of the Talking Trucking Tour, which is a 6-city whistle-stop tour that we do every year, except in COVID years. We've decided to exempt COVID years from that. But one year we'll focus on state issues, and so the head of commercial vehicle enforcement for highway patrol, the head of vehicle licensing services for Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles, and the head of scale operations for FDOT and I will go on the road and hit 6 cities and spend an hour-and-a-half long meeting in each city, making brief presentations, but then just fielding questions of all different kinds. And then every other year, instead of highway safety going along on that, or FDOT going along, Jeff Sanderson with FMCSA comes we focus more on federal questions and issues. And I don't know that that would have ever happened if we haven't sort of been in this habit of sharing ideas back and forth and feeling sufficiently comfortable and sort of vulnerable to each other to pick up the phone and discuss, well, how can we tackle this or that. Jeff Dixon, you may have it on your list, but the Commercial Vehicle Enforcement Trooper of the Year. I'm not sure that FTA would have ever been giving that award if we hadn't been having chats with FHP about how can we recognize these folks. So I think I'll stop there. We do lots of things together that I'm sure happen in many other states. But our Safety Management Council at FTA just has this habit that Mike Cobbs mentioned a couple of 3 illustrations of always involving FMCSA and FHP in our events. We never have an annual conference or a spring or fall get together, or certainly truck driving championships, but Jeff Sanderson's team is not there and usually speaking at one or more of the sessions. So I said I was going to stop once. This time I'll really stop.
All right, thank you, sir. Chief Dixon.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jeff Dixon. I'm the Chief of Commercial Vehicle Enforcement for the Florida Highway Patrol. And I want to thank you for providing us the opportunity today to discuss the strong partnerships that we have between the Florida Highway Patrol, FMCSA, and the Florida Trucking Association in our continuous efforts to improve commercial vehicle safety on Florida's roadways. I want to recognize Darrell Rubin, Jeff Sanderson, and Mickey Davis from FMCSA, and Ken Armstrong and Alex Miller with the Florida Trucking Association for their continued assistance and support of the Florida Highway Patrol. We truly could not be as effective and do the job that we do to influence safety in the commercial vehicle space on our roadways in Florida without their support and their help. So greatly appreciate them and thank you for that. You know, each of our organizations have varying missions and organizational priorities, but we all have one common thread that ties us together, and that's promoting the safe operation of commercial vehicles on Florida's roadways. And the purpose of that is to enhance safety, reduce crashes, and ultimately save lives and protect our citizens and visitors to Florida every year. You know, we have a tremendous working relationship and that strong partnership that we share in Florida. I think there are a couple of keys to our overall success. We have a shared commitment to commercial vehicle and safety and a collaborative effort to build strong relationships, trust, and to simply support one another in our efforts to create a safer Florida. Part of the shared commitment, obviously, is tied to improving safety, and we work together. We support one another in our program areas. We're committed to leveraging off one another to achieve our safety-related objectives and provide educational outreach opportunities to industry. Through recent years, we've built strong personal relationships, and we continuously work to maintain those relationships, as Ken mentioned. Almost weekly, almost daily sometimes, depending on what's going on. I have conversations on the phone with either Ken or Alex from FTA or Jeff from FMCSA on anything related to regulatory issues, the current crisis, emergency declarations, commercial crashes, and so on and so forth. Throughout the year, we have face-to-face meetings with FTA and FMCSA. We have working lunches. Like I said, we just have a continuous working relationship across our silos to ensure that we're communicating and collaborating in the interest of safety and supporting our operational objectives. Jeff and his staff attend our CV district meetings in the past and typically a couple times a year. They discuss the importance of the roadside inspections our members perform and the importance of the violations that they document on those inspections. They discuss post-crash inspections and how FMCSA may conduct compliance investigations off of these post-crash inspections. You know, these types of interactions help reinforce to our officers the importance of their work and the quality of the work that they do and the impact it has on safety beyond what they may see on a day-to-day basis. So when patrol operations troopers cross over to commercial vehicle enforcement, we send them through the CDE training, Part A and B. And during each of those training sessions, FMCSA really routinely comes out. Jeff comes and talks to that group of new CDE troopers to discuss the importance of their work and explain how their work is tied to FMCSA's effort to improve safety. You know, we know on a daily basis we can pick up the phone and call one another at any time, at any point of the day when there's a need. And I'll kind of give you an example. The other night, about 8 o'clock in the evening, Alex Miller rang my phone. And it had to do with the incident that you probably all saw on the Florida Turnpike where the individual was taking the ride on the ABF tractor going down the Florida Turnpike. She wanted to reach out to me and let me know that the ABF safety coordinator, Bruce Bugg, wanted to contact us and offer his assistance to support us in our investigation, and also put us in contact with him so that we could communicate any information that they may need. So, you know, those types of day-to-day interactions just allow us to work together and support each other in anything that we do. Ken mentioned the hurricane events. You know, we work closely with FMCSA, FTA concerning the emergency declarations, communications on Florida governor executive orders, and the Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicle emergency orders. And I try to ensure, as Tim said, that I provide timely information to not only Ken and the FTA, but other members of the trucking industry in Florida to ensure that they understand the regulatory relief and the legal relief that's being provided them during these emergency crises. Each year, the FTA invites the Florida Highway Patrol and CDE leadership to talk at their annual conferences and their leadership meetings in Tallahassee. You know, and these interactions afford our leaders and their leaders and members of both organizations to build personal relationships, share information, and discuss ideas and our own unique perspectives. So I think that's valuable each year in what we do. There was mention about the collaborative efforts. Each year we participate, as was mentioned, in the Florida Trucking Association Truck Driving Championship. As part of that, throughout the year with industry, a lot of times we'll go out and we'll have members of our agency that will go to their facility like Publix and some others around the state, and we'll actually judge their individual company truck driving competitions in preparation for the state truck driving championship. Then during the week of the TDC and the Florida Inspectors Championship, we all meet down in Daytona, and the FTA provides resources such as vehicles and drivers for our inspectors who are participating in the Florida Inspectors Championship. And then later in the week, we provide judges for the FTA for the Truck Driving Championship, and we help support them in that manner. At the end of the week, one thing that the FTA does that I think is really phenomenal is during their banquet for their award ceremony for the TDC, they share that venue with the Highway Patrol, and they allow us to recognize our people formally in front of their drivers and their company representatives, and recognize our inspectors for the work that they do during the FIC. And I think that gives another unique setting and opportunity for our members to not only communicate, collaborate, build relationships, and know each other individually across the board, but it helps build those relationships, and it helps our members be recognized in front of the FTA community, and it helps their members be recognized in front of our community. You know, they're industry and we're enforcement, but we truly work together in the interest of safety, and it's important to have those important relationships. We do educational outreach throughout the year with FTA through Share the Road and those on events where their drivers and our FHP members educate team drivers on the importance of safe driving in and around commercial motor vehicles, you know, hopefully to impact their behaviors and ultimately save lives. We've done troopers and trucks ride-alongs where members of CDE have actually ridden in the truck with some of the FTA members, like Publix again, for an 8-hour shift, where our troopers have the opportunity to talk to the drivers and gain their perspective and understand what it means and how difficult it is to drive an 18-wheeler up and down our Florida roadways with all the traffic. Gives our troopers an interesting perspective on that, in that sense, that when they're roadside with a driver, maybe they have a different perspective on the enforcement work that they do. And again, it gives their drivers the opportunity to have a dialogue with our troopers to understand how we go about our business and what's important to us roadside. Another thing that we do with a lot of the FTA membership is we'll go out when we're notified of Million Mile Driver recognition ceremonies. I've been out several times here locally in Tallahassee area with XPO, where they might recognize a Million Mile Driver or a 3 million mile driver. And we go out to the facility, we've been there 3 or 4 times, and we meet the leadership there. We interact with the drivers. They have the opportunity to talk with us, and we have the opportunity to present the driver with a certificate of our own, thanking them for making safety a priority and essentially recognizing the company and the drivers for their efforts to really maintain a safe driving environment on our roadways. So I think that really builds really positive relationships. We do a number of those things throughout the year, each and every year, and that just continues to build our strong partnerships here in Florida. Back in 2018, the FTA strongly supported the Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles, which the Florida Highway Patrol is a division of, with our legislative package that was critical to legislative changes related to commercial vehicle laws in the state of Florida and compatibility issues with FMCSA. So the FTA supported us in that and really was instrumental in helping us support that legislative package and be successful on that front. We do a number of things like that throughout the year. It was mentioned the hurricane events. We continuously communicate and collaborate when it comes to special events or emergencies that are going on to ensure that everyone is informed and educated, and we're working together and we're working through any problems or issues that may arise. We're always attuned to challenges that may face the FTA and some of the members with the delivery of emergency supplies throughout the state, and we're able to work through our Department of Emergency Management counterparts and try to work through some of those problems. At the end of the day, we're successful in Florida because of the strong partnerships that exist between the Florida Highway Patrol, FMCSA, and FTA, and through continuous communication and collaboration that mutually benefit one another. Our overall efforts to create a safer driving environment in Florida is achieved. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. If I'd known there was a race in getting the declarations over to Ken and Alex, I may have to change the order of my email strings here. Ken, as it's been stated here, we know that each group represented here benefits from the partnerships. What benefits do you see from these partnerships for other industry stakeholders?
Well, let me step back briefly to the Talking Trucking Tour that I mentioned before. A lot of the people, as all of you on the call know, are not necessarily big companies that attend those, because they're not going to be able to get in their vehicle and drive to Tallahassee and have a meeting, even an informal one. But when we take those folks to Fort Lauderdale or Sarasota or wherever, and it's close by and they can go in a non-threatening environment, know that there's sort of no holds barred on the questions that they ask. People who would ordinarily feel disenfranchised, I think, feel empowered to be able to say, oh, well, what's FTA doing on this? How does Highway Patrol handle that thing? Jeff, as you know, Jeff Sanderson, as you know, you got a lot of the questions. In fact, one of those years was an hours of service year, and so you got to field a lot of those. But I think the fact that we are comfortable with each other personally and organizationally gives our members, whether they're carriers or whether they're suppliers, whoever it is involved in our industry, permission to be equally comfortable with each other and to ask the questions, as Mike Cobb mentioned during his safety meetings and so forth, the flock to go visit with a law enforcement professional. The four of us, I think, give all of the people in the industry the permission, if you will, the example to be able to have those discussions.
Jeff, would you say FHP has benefited from these partnerships in regards to technological advancements in the industry?
Absolutely. You know, the law enforcement community recognizes the fact that the overwhelming majority of traffic crashes are the result of driver-based behaviors, you know, such as speeding, careless or distracted driving, lane and roadway departures, and so forth. And we recognize that the advancement in automated vehicle technology has dramatically increased the safe operation of motor vehicles on roadways and ultimately has the potential to reduce crashes and save lives. Florida Highway Patrol leadership has been keenly aware of advancements in the AV community, and we focused on the potential challenges that these technologies pose on the way law enforcement will interact with highly automated vehicles and industry that operates these vehicles, and the performance of our traditional law enforcement activities such as traffic stops, commercial vehicle inspections, traffic control, and crash investigations. We recognize that technology is rapidly emerging in the AV space, and there are many challenges at law enforcement with regard to operating in and around highly automated vehicles. One of the best ways that we can work through these challenges is to communicate with and engage the AV operators and the carriers, the industry side, so that we can gain knowledge and collaborate. So we recognize that through the exchange of information and sharing our individual perspectives, we can gain a better understanding of how particular technologies operate, how we as law enforcement can know that a vehicle is being operated in autonomous mode or AV technology is controlling the vehicle, how we can interact with the various technologies, what information we can glean from these technologies through performance of our mandated duties, and the information AV manufacturers or industry users may share with us in the performance of our duties. So in the recent years, Florida Highway Patrol has been actively working with our state partners such as the Florida DOT and members of industry who are testing or operating AV vehicles and technology in the state of Florida. And as many of you on this call probably know, Florida has laws that are very broad and open and afford the opportunity for companies and industries to test and operate within the state of Florida. As a result of collaboration and communication with the commercial vehicle industry, we had the opportunities to meet with and work with two companies who were testing AV technologies in Florida in recent years. In 2017, the Highway Patrol worked with the Florida DOT and other state partners and members of Peloton, which is an automated vehicle technology company, during a driver-assisted truck platooning pilot project that was occurring in Florida over the course of the year. We were involved with meetings with Peloton representatives, other state partners. We participated in a ride-along down on the Florida Turnpike in the Orlando area with Peloton, where they actually demonstrated the driver-assisted truck platooning technology. And we were involved in the monitoring of tests of the DATP technology on Florida's Turnpike. In 2018 and 2019, members of the Highway Patrol leadership communicated on numerous occasions and met and worked with Stefan Seltz-Oxmacher, hope I pronounced that correctly, who was the CEO and founder of Starsky Robotics. During that time, Starsky Robotics was testing level 5 fully autonomous commercial vehicles in Florida, and they intended to operate a fully autonomous fleet of commercial vehicles transporting property on Florida's Turnpike system. And many of you probably know they actually did operate several autonomous runs on our roadways where they had a fully autonomous commercial motor vehicle working on the roadway with a teledriver in a remote location, remotely operating that vehicle. So we were very interested in the technology they were using. We were interested in communicating with them about how their technology worked, how they intended to operate their vehicles, how we would interact with them, how we could understand their processes and the equipment and the technologies they were using, and so that we could also communicate to them the questions that we had and how we could work through how law enforcement in general would work with their technology roadside. So for each of these collaborative opportunities, we've had the opportunity to work with industry and understand the varying technologies that were emerging, to identify challenges that law enforcement will face while interacting with highly autonomous vehicles, and seek solutions to overcome some of these challenges. The other benefit of these types of collaborative relationships is that we as law enforcement have the opportunity to share with industry the perspective of law enforcement and the roles we play in public safety and provide a broader understanding of the challenges we face with the operation of highly autonomous vehicles on our roadway systems. It's truly important for law enforcement and the safety community and AV industry, most importantly, the users of AV technology, to communicate and collaborate on these issues so that we understand where we're at, where we're going, and identify the challenges that we all need to work through as these technologies become more prevalent. So thank you, Jeff, for that opportunity.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Technology is advancing without a doubt, and being able to get firsthand knowledge and see it is a huge advantage. Mike, Landstar puts a lot of time and effort into safety partnerships with associations, enforcement agencies across the country, as you said earlier. What are some of the key benefits that you see from these investments?
Well, first, what I want to do is just comment on what Ken was talking about, the Talk Trucking Tour, because I think that's probably one of the best things you three guys have done in a while. Because prior to that, obviously, the Florida Trucking Association would have different events throughout the state, quarterly events, and they may have an event in Orlando, one in Tampa, and one in Tallahassee. From a large trucking company perspective, we might send one or maybe two people to those events. From a smaller trucking company perspective, they may not send anybody because the safety guy is also the operations guy and the maintenance guy. When you decided to do the Talk Trucking Tour and go to 6 different locations where you have the regional director of FMCSA, the chief of the Highway Patrol, and the CEO of the FTA, and you go and give presentations and take all questions, that's good stuff, because then from a large company perspective, I can send 6 people to go see that. And a smaller company, the guy who's the maintenance guy and the operations guy and the safety guy, he can go see it as well. He can take the time out to see it. And I just want to comment that you really did a fabulous job with that. And that's probably one of the best things that has come out of the FTA in a long time, Ken.
Thanks, Mike.
But as far as partnerships go, it really does pay off for us in that, just kind of like what Chief Dixon was talking about. When I have a question or I need to know something, or somebody in one of my departments does, they pick up the phone. And Jeff, I know I've talked to you numerous times. I can call you. We have a lot of local relationships with the Highway Patrol, so we can call them and get answers to questions we may have. And likewise, we know that when there's any issue you may have with us, or you have a question about something we're doing, or you want help from us, you pick up the phone and call us as well. And I'll give you a perfect example. This just happened this past weekend. We had, over the weekend, we had about 3 drivers who were having trouble transferring their logs roadside. And we got written for a violation, because let me tell you, even though we have these great relationships, when the violations occur, you guys still write them. Chief Dixon, your guys still are writing violations when we have them. But in turn, what they also did is they called us to let us know, hey, we saw 3 of your guys that were having this problem. You may want to check it out. And even though the drivers had called us, by them letting us know that, we realized that it wasn't just a one-time incident, and we were able to address it. So it's that type of collaboration where I can call you and you can call me, and it just works out in the long run for all parties.
I completely agree. Mentioning the Talking Trucking Tour, tell on Ken here for a minute. 2 years ago, when he first set it up for the state-based group to go around for Florida DOT and DHSMV licensing, and then FHP, I called him up one day and said, hey, why did you leave me out? That was the first year ELDs had just come out, and he said, I didn't want ELDs to be the only thing we talked about. He said, your turn's next year. So I held him to it. It was a great thing that they came up with. Wonderful to be a part of it. I enjoyed it immensely. Obviously, driving the full length of Florida and back, I didn't want to drive anymore after that week for several days after that. But I wanted to thank all of y'all for being on the panel today. I do appreciate it. I hope everybody watching appreciates it too. I have just a few statements here to wrap up. My basic feeling from what we get from our relationships working together is understanding. That's what I get back the most of it. Understanding better how a motor carrier operation works, about the hurdles that you face every day, about the hurdles that your drivers face, that your mechanics face. I get a better understanding talking with Ken and working with the membership of FTA of the needs that they have from FMCSA, things that they desire from FMCSA, and what we can do to better help them and serve them with and all reach our safety goal. Working with Chief Dixon, getting a better understanding of the law enforcement perspective. I have a background from law enforcement, but then that's more years than I care to claim of how far back it was. But things change. The variables that he has to deal with here in Florida are greatly different from when I was a roadside officer in the state of Georgia. But there are so many hurdles he has to cross on a daily basis. I feel like our partnership allows us all to learn from each other, help better develop our understanding of what each of us has as a requirement, what we have to do in our daily jobs to get what our requirements are done. And we are better able to communicate with each other, just as Mike was saying. We feel more comfortable when we pick up the phone and call. We know who we're talking to. Better able to solve issues, and we're better able to work together to make our highways safer for others. The one last thing that I have to say is I think the one key thing that we all have in common is we all realize that there's only one number that's acceptable for fatalities on highways, and that's 0. And that's something that, even though from different perspectives, from different parts of the industry we're all working together to try to reach that 0 goal. Not seeing any questions. Bill, any questions in the queue?
Jeff, no, I think you've covered it all. So if you want to wrap up for this session.
All right, gentlemen, if you have anything you'd like to say, we'll start with Chief Dixon, wrap up.
I don't really have anything to add, but we have a great environment here in Florida. We have great relationships across the board between FMCSA, industry with the FTA, and enforcement with Florida Highway Patrol. And I appreciate each one of you, and I appreciate the support that you give us once again. And truly, it's a partnership, and we couldn't do it without you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike.
I wholeheartedly agree with Chief Dixon. It's all about relationships and partnerships, and we've got a good thing going here in Florida.
Ken?
See it?
A little higher.
FMCSA. That's all I say right there.
All right, once again, gentlemen, thank you. Appreciate you being on the panel. And with that, we'll wrap it up. Thank you, Bill.
Okay, thank you. And this ends our session. Thank you.